Okay, guys, good morning. There's a lot going on here in the Pacific, and if I go back to this slide here, major focus on Iwo Jima and Okinawa. I talked a lot about Iwo Jima yesterday. Okinawa, which is really close here to the Japanese main islands, and the Philippines, I'm going to talk about today as well, and then really kind of finish up the war. I've attached some videos that on the atomic bomb, on kamikazes. There's a pretty good movie out called Hacksaw Ridge. It's a story about Benjamin Doss, I believe his name was, who was a conscientious objector that they didn't allow to get out of the army. He served in Okinawa. It's an incredible story. If you get a chance to see that, Hacksaw Ridge. The other really good series to watch on the Pacific is called The Pacific by it's produced by HBO. It's like Band of Brothers for the Pacific, and it's like 9 episodes, and it's incredible. The same guy that played Freddie Mercury in the movie Bohemian Rhapsody. Some of you've seen that. We watched it the other night. He's in that Pacific movie, and it's really intense combat, guys. And then we obviously end with the atomic bomb, and I'm going to talk about that today. And I'm going to post 2 videos on that kind of take you through the end of the war, and also talk about the the controversy around it, which, there's obviously 2 sides to that debate, and you can break that debate down into, different areas. Okay, so let's get going here. On Okinawa, guys, there's indigenous population on Okinawa. Unlike Iwo Jima, it's just a volcanic, island. There are people that live on Okinawa. And we were talking about how nasty the Japanese were at times. As we're taking this island, which, guys, we're going to lose 12,000 Americans on it. It's brutal warfare. One of the tactics the Japanese would use is at night. They like to attack at night. And there were times where they would send Japanese civilians, women and children, into our lines at night. And you have to understand, guys, people on the perimeter, they hear anything move at night, they're opening fire. And so they would send women and children in at night and force them into our lines. And so the next morning our people would wake up, our soldiers, and see what they had done, killing women and children. It's horrifying to the soul to wake up with that. And so, that defeats the morale of the American troops. It makes it more difficult to fight. It messes with your mind. Okay, so Okinawa, there's a lot of videos you can watch on that and so forth. It's a very complicated battle. Okay, so one of the things we talked about the Philippines earlier, those of you that did the optional homework, there was a question on the Bataan Death March, which was in southern Philippines, as American and Filipino troops were overrun after the December 7th attacks, just like on Hawaii. Eventually, MacArthur, the general in charge, was forced to flee. He was ordered to flee. He had to leave his men behind. There was no way to transport our troops off the Philippines without putting our Navy in jeopardy. So they were captured and of course, tortured. The ones that survived the Bataan Death March were prisoners of war, held for years by the Japanese in absolutely awful conditions. So when MacArthur left, he said, "I shall return." And he did 2 years later, October 20th, 1944. Now, like Patton, MacArthur is kind of an egomaniac. This photograph here, and there's many photographs because he made sure the photographers were there to capture him coming back onto the Philippines. So he's got his Ray-Ban sunglasses, his corncob pipe, and he has the landing craft stop short so he can actually wade up through the water onto the beach, proclaiming, I have returned. Okay, that was October. It wasn't until March of 1945 that we recaptured the capital, Manila. Guys, this was very tough fighting in the Philippines as well. The Philippines is made up of dozens and dozens of islands, okay? I think the largest one is called Luzon, and the largest naval battle in history is actually going to take place in and throughout these islands, called the Battle of Leyte Gulf. Largest in history. Way too complicated to get into in just a normal history class here, guys. But anyhow, you might remember we talked about the Tidings-McDuffie Act in 1934, where we promised to give the the Philippines their independence. And we did on July 4th. We got a 99-year lease for a military base there. There was a point in the 1990s where they asked us to leave, and we did. We were asked to come back in a smaller capacity to help against terrorism. And if you follow Filipino politics at all, their president today is a guy named Duarte. And this guy's really off his rocker, man. This guy's crazy. Death penalty for things like drug offenses. He's kind of crazy. And he's not afraid to offend the United States, Russia, China, anybody. He's his own man. But anyhow, we're talking about interviews that my previous students had done. I had a student that interviewed somebody that had gone into the Philippines and actually helped liberate Manila, and went to MacArthur's office where he was based out of. And he was the first guy in MacArthur's office, and he saw an ashtray sitting on the desk, and he grabbed it and put it in his pocket and brought it home as a souvenir. It had General MacArthur's name on it. So that's kind of a cool story. All right, down here I have kamikaze. Guys, as we're invading Okinawa, the Japanese know if we take Okinawa, we have air bases so close to Japan we can bomb them whenever we want and so forth. So the Japanese are going to put up a very tough fight, and they're going to try and destroy our Navy via these kamikaze attacks. If you don't know what that basically means where pilots would take off in their planes and fly their planes while they're in them into American ships, trying to sink them. This caused a heavy toll on American lives and our ships. One of the videos I post will show you all about that, okay? So just to kind of give you some numbers, guys, if we look at the 12,000 dead at Guadalcanal, the 8,000 dead on Iwo Jima, the kamikaze attacks are going to kill about 5,000 American sailors and sink or damage hundreds of American ships. The death toll is rising rapidly for the Americans. And once we're successful at Okinawa, then obviously the planning for the invasion of the main island of Japan is beginning. And so, military folks are trying to figure out, okay, how many American troops is this going to take? How many Americans are going to die? Meanwhile, okay, you come to this topic here, and that's the development of the atomic bomb. Okay, now the idea here was proposed early on by some German scientists, and one of the videos I will post talks about this as well. But so Truman takes office in April 12th, after Roosevelt dies. Truman didn't even know about the atomic bomb. Now, Stalin knew about it because he had spies on the Manhattan Project, which was the project to build the bomb. But the word atom in the Greek means unbreakable. German scientists had proposed this, and Albert Einstein, who was German, knew about this. And he actually sent a letter to Roosevelt in 1939 warning him about this, that this could, if they were able to do this, they could create a massive weapon with it. And so in May of 1942, Roosevelt, in a top secret project developed in the desert of outside of Los Alamos, New Mexico, we see a situation where they're going to gather the top scientists all over the United States, Canada, and really try and get these folks to get together, these incredible mathematicians, physicists, chemistry guys, all that. So these are some of the scientists here. The lead scientist was this guy, Robert Oppenheimer. Okay, he was the one that had to gather all these big egos, because these guys are the smartest people in the world, many of them, and so they all have big egos, as you can imagine. Some of you are smart and have egos. But anyhow, he's going to try and corral these guys into building this weapon, this bomb. And the level of study, bringing all these minds together, is incredible. My wife, who went to Virginia Tech and studied chemical engineering, one of her professors at Virginia Tech had actually worked on this project, which is pretty crazy. But anyhow, this will be conducted in the desert, top secret. They were able to bring their families, their wives, and so forth to live out there. And it took, as you can see, over 2 years to do this. The first bomb, and this is a time-elapse photo of the first bomb, the gadget, also known as the Trinity experiment, explodes in the desert of New Mexico. Okay, so this is July 16th. Well, Truman is actually meeting with Stalin and Churchill at Potsdam in Germany. And when he receives news of the successful testing of this weapon, okay, so he is immediately feels like he's in a stronger position, okay? At this point, do we need the Russians any longer? That becomes a question, because we can end this war quite possibly. We have a winning weapon. So the dates here are really important, okay? So we get this on July 16th. Of course, they have to make another one, okay? They actually make 3 more, okay? One will be named Little Boy. One will be called Fat Man. Those are the 2 we're going to use. The third one goes unused, thank goodness. But here's what's happening, okay? So if you go back to May 8th, 1945, VE Day, the Soviets promise that they're going to declare war on Japan 3 months to the day. So you go June, July, August 8th. Okay, so Russia is going to start invading here. This is called Operation August Storm. Okay, they're going to start invading Manchuria and so forth. Well, some people feel that this is one of the reasons why Truman used the bomb, was to end the war before the Soviets got too involved in this. Because if they did, we were going to start running into, and we were already running into problems with the Soviet Union and Germany after victory there. Okay, remember his promises at Yalta. Well, he's not keeping his promises from Yalta. He's breaking them. And so Truman knows that if the Soviets get involved, then we're going to have a problem here in the Far East, okay? In fact, Russian troops are going to get as far as North Korea, this Korean peninsula here, before the Japanese formally surrender. And this is still causing us problems today, with North Korea being a communist country with little dictators that are crazy, right? Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un. It's become a constant problem. In fact, today, all of China is communist, okay? You have Vietnam, which is communist, all right? And so you see what happens after the war, Okay, so there's a lot of reasons here. Okay, now, so when you try and make this decision about should we have dropped the bomb or not, you've got a lot of factors to look at. I'm just trying to point out some of these. Okay, now on August 6th, the Enola Gay, which is a B-29 bomber, the ones that were built here in Wichita, drops the first bomb. Okay, and then 3 days later, the second bomb will be dropped. Okay. Yeah, sorry about this. This is all. Oops. I'll stop messing with those. Okay. And then the formal surrender takes place on August 14th upon the USS Missouri, which will be sitting in Tokyo Bay. Okay. So if I go to this next slide here, I got some pictures here. There's Harry Truman. Okay. Again, I can't pull up these dang videos. They're not on YouTube. So I did find some other ones to watch. Okay. This is the little boy that was dropped on Hiroshima. This is a uranium bomb. Okay, and then Fat Man, which is the one that was dropped on Nagasaki 3 days later, is called Fat Man. Okay, this is a plutonium bomb. Okay, which is a man-made substance. These are what you refer to as fission bombs, where there is a splitting of atoms. Okay, it is something that using a specific type of uranium that is highly enriched, splitting that, creating a massive chain reaction. Okay, I'm not a nuclear scientist here, okay, or an atomic scientist. The bombs we develop later on, guys, are called hydrogen bombs or nuclear bombs. Okay, those are about between 5 and 1,000 times more powerful than these atomic bombs. Okay, they are massive, and I'll be talking about that in the next chapters. But so anyhow, those are fusion bombs. Colliding of atoms. Okay, so there's a big difference. So moving on to the next slide. Okay, this is a picture taken aboard the USS Missouri on this says September 2nd. Okay, and this is also taken upon the Missouri. Okay. Some good pictures here. These are troops actually coming home on like cruise ships. Okay, just packed, coming home from Europe. This is after the ticker tape parade in New York, which was a massive celebration of victory in World War II. Okay, so I've attached those videos. I've got intense footage. That's not it. That's an ad. From kamikazes, as well as this. And then this is a pretty good video that talks a lot about the circumstances leading up to the atomic bombs. And then this one is kind of a fun history teacher guy kind of talking about some of the things I talked about, plus a little bit more. So I hope you have time to watch these. And so here's my plan. Today's Thursday. Over the next couple days, I'll put together a test and probably land that on you on Monday. Okay, it won't take you real long. It'll be mostly multiple choice, so you can use your notes for that. You can use whatever information you need to find the answers. Just please don't use each other. Like cheat. Okay, I appreciate it if you don't do that. And guys, hopefully you know a lot more about World War II than you did when you came into my classroom or into my basement. Hope you're well. We'll see you next week. Okay? Bye.